What's up, everyone? Welcome to Young Bright Chats, also known as YBC Podcast. And we are your hosts who will be with you throughout the entire podcast.
I'm Matna.
And I'm Abdul Shakur Abdullah.
In this podcast, we talk with various young leaders, entrepreneurs, and activists in Tanzania. So buckle up, grab your paper and pen, and get ready to dive into a world full of skills, knowledge, ideas, and many more from our young changemakers in Tanzania. Let's go!
Welcome again to Young Bright Chats. And if this is your first episode, welcome to Young Bright Chats. This is where young leaders get to share their skills and ideas, and for other listeners, where they can get skills and knowledge from listening to this podcast. I want to take this opportunity to wish every one of you a happy holiday season and a happy new year. I know this is the time that we reflect what we achieved in 2023 and also to set new goals for 2024. And here at Young Bright Chats, we also have a lot of good stuff and a lot of guest speakers to speak with you in 2024, and we are really excited for this new year. And we are happy that we're moving together in this 2024. In today's special episode, it's really special because it's happening online, and we have our fellow Tanzanian all the way from across the world. But she decided that she wants to share her ideas so that others can be benefited from whatever experiences she had and whatever journey that she took to take her where she is right now. You are very welcome, Winifrida, and you can take a few seconds to introduce yourself to our listeners.
Thank you, YBC, for having me today. Hi, everyone. My name is Winifrida Mita, and I'm currently a college student in the United States of America taking associate in art.
You're really welcome, and thank you so much for making this happen, because I understand that we are really far apart, but thanks to technology that this is happening, that we are able to communicate and making this happen. I understand that when you are in Tanzania, you are really an active member of your community, but I also expect that you are still an active member in your community where you are right now, because that's who you are and it doesn't just go away easily. It will be really wonderful if you could give us your experiences on how did you start volunteering, because I understand that being a child in Tanzania, it's most likely you didn't understand anything about volunteerism, or probably you are lucky enough you understood something about volunteerism. So can you share with us, how did you start volunteering?
As most typical Tanzanian teenage girls, I never knew about volunteerism until I was the exchange student under years program in 2018, where I got introduced to volunteering willingly without asking for payment. I never really had the knowledge before that, because I used to live my normal life, like going to school, go back home, do your chores, and your life is a cycle that repeats itself every day. But when I was in 2019 in the US, I learned how people live very differently compared to Tanzania. People here volunteer more, so also it was not like something weird to do, which mostly in Tanzania is something weird to, like volunteer just somebody to go and do something. It's weird in Tanzania. But when I started volunteering in 2018, I see the impact that it has done to my life personally, because you feel more connected to the community and more connected to the environment around you and the people, because they have helped me not only connect more to them, but also realizing more of the abilities that I possess and the impact I have around people, and that the one that I put in the world. When I was a young girl, I wanted to be a doctor, and knowing that I wanted to be a doctor, I know helping people is something that I must do. But not only something that I must do, I have to have the skill to do it. And I didn't know how to. So I was always like trying my best in class to do it. But as I grew up and lived in the US for a minute, I gained this ability from volunteering that actually helps me build my career, in a sense that it gives me the heart to do stuff without having to think a lot about it. Being in a healthcare environment, you have to be able to help people without having to see you're doing anything. It's giving impact with saving people's life and changing their whole life. So volunteering actually really gives you that skill that you need, because you're doing something voluntary. Nobody is telling you what to do. So it actually really helped me to focus more on my career, because I know helping people requires much more than just being there. It requires more of the skill on how to do it. And when you do something willingly without people asking you to do it, it actually helps you to know what to do and how to cope with different situations in your.
Thank you so much, Winifrida, for sharing all of those. That's really wonderful. And I am really inspired by your story that you started from not knowing anything about volunteerism, but at the end you're just interested and you just can't stop to volunteer. That's really a good thing and a really good improvement that I'm really glad and I'm proud of you. For now, thanks to technology, that people now start to understand some things about volunteerism, and there are people who know or have heard the word volunteerism and they want to practice it, but they just don't know where to start, because as you saw your experience, you started to volunteer when you were in the US, but here probably the environment or the conditions are not very friendly for people to just start volunteerism. So probably they have heard or they have listened to this and they are now interested to start to volunteer, but they just don't know where to start. And based on your experiences, you probably have observed some of the ways that people can start volunteerism. Can you maybe share with us what advice do you have for these people? Where should they start? Based on your experience, where did you start and where should they start?
The knowledge of volunteerism at a young age might not be very understandable, especially in Tanzania, because we are not used to volunteer. Even in classes, even at schools, it's very rare to find people volunteer in Tanzania just to do random stuff. So at a very young age, it might not sound understandable. People will think like you're crazy or something. But to me, it was different. I was also one of those teenagers that don't think volunteerism is something that I could ever do, because it's just like, how do you just do? But after I got involved with YES program, that's when my knowledge widened and I got knowledge about it. And it's not a bad thing. It's more even beneficial to you, because you get to know yourself better. You get to connect with people around you. And you also get connections through doing it. Like, people really see you for who you are when you do volunteering. And that actually changed the whole perspective of life in my life. And it has helped me build connection with people. But not only that, that's not the important part. The important part is like, you make an impact in other people's life. And it's built the sense of love to people around you. But also, the smile on their faces give you satisfaction. You know what I mean? So at a very young age, knowing that volunteerism has a huge impact on people's life, it really starts to shape your own life. And you get to have ability to know how and what to do and how to do it, because you get people who help you through the journey by sharing the same love, the same empathy and sympathy. So yeah, that was actually really helpful to know at a very young age.
Oh yeah, that's for real. And maybe lastly, what do you think platforms like these Young Bright Chats can bring to the community about educating youth about volunteerism, but also other issues? And what advice do you have to the people about platforms like Young Bright Chats?
So when I heard about this podcast, I was like, wow, just wow. Because most teenagers and most youth in Tanzania don't take actions to make changes. And this podcast actually brings that change that we need and raise awareness. But also through using different other youth experience, people get to know exactly what to do. And as we know, like being a young adult or being a teenager, that youth era is a very challenging one because we're trying to figure out what we can do in our life and how to do it. And most of the time we don't know how to do it. But through this podcast, we can learn about how other people are living their life, and we can learn from their experiences and change and find like a guideline to our own life. So I really advise teenagers, youth, and young adults to listen to podcasts because rather than being on social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and wasting our time watching people living their life, we should try to find things and listen to things that will actually have an impact in our own life in a positive way. So this podcast is actually going to help a lot of teenagers and youth and young adults in Tanzania to help them focus on their life. My advice for people who have no idea what volunteerism is or never done it in their life is to go out there and change and make an impact into this world, because the kindness you put in this world has a way to come back to you always. It's like a blessing in disguise. You will never know when or where what you did have changed people's life and how it will change your own life. So just go there.
Oh yeah, that right there is a really good advice. Anything that you do, whether bad or good, whether you know it or you don't know it, it'll find a way to come back to you, because that's how things are. So I suggest that you use your time to do good things out to the community, to do good things to your friends, to your family, and to everyone around you. So make sure you do good things. And I can take that as the final wisdom of this episode. Thank you so much, Winifrida, for joining us in this episode. And thank you to our listeners and our team for being here with us until the end of this episode. Thank you so much. And we'll see each other on the next episode. My name is Abdul Shakur Abdullah. I was your host in this episode. Thank you.
That's it for today's episode. We would like to give lots of thanks to our listeners for being with us throughout the episode, and a huge shout out to our teammates Waridi and Jerome, who helped keep this podcast going.
Are you interested in contributing or being featured in our podcast?
Contact us through our Instagram under ybc.podcast.
That is ybc.podcast. And folks, don't forget to tune into our next episode of YBC,
where young minds get filled with knowledge to impact the world.